What if I told you that everything you're struggling with right now, every ounce of anxiety, regret, frustration, indecision, and even guilt, is the result of compromise? Not the good kind of compromise that brings people together, but the quiet, slow kind. The kind that chips away at who you are when no one's looking. You didn't wake up one day and decide to abandon your standards. You didn't plan to live distracted, to let your values get negotiated down by the noise of the world. But here you are, wondering why things feel off, why peace feels like a stranger, and why your soul feels like it's been negotiating with the wrong side. Let's be brutally honest. Most of us are tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of trying to meet expectations that don't even belong to us. Tired of pouring energy into things that don't refill us. But deep down, we're not just tired, we're misaligned. We've given ground we never should have given, and the worst part? We knew better. There's a voice inside you that whispers every time you settle for less than what you were born to stand for. You hear it, but you don't always listen. Today, that ends. Today, we listen. This message isn't about fluff. I'm not here to hype you up with empty motivation. I'm here to talk about the things you must never, ever compromise if you want to live with clarity, strength, and dignity. Not as some internet philosophy, not as a self-help list, but as a creed, a code, a way of standing in a world that keeps trying to make you kneel to things that are beneath you. Because you don't rise by adding more, you rise by subtracting everything that dilutes who you are. I want you to think about the Stoics, not as marble statues or quotes on your social feed, but as real men who stood in chaos and refused to flinch. Marcus Aurelius, leading an empire while battling plagues and betrayal, still began each day reminding himself that people would be selfish, cruel, and ignorant. Epictetus, born a slave, still taught that no man could ever own his mind. They had every reason to fold under pressure, every excuse to give in to bitterness, but they didn't. Why? Because they drew a line, not around comfort, but around virtue. Around what mattered most. So I'm going to walk you through 5 things you must protect at all costs. These aren't preferences. These aren't negotiable. These are the pillars that hold up your life when the storms come, and believe me, they will come. These 5 things are your shield. Lose them, and you will always be at the mercy of the world. Guard them, and you become unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop making deals with your own weakness. And before we go any further, let me say this. If any part of you feels called out right now, that's good. That means your inner compass isn't broken. That means you can still course correct. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You just need to return to the truths you've known all along, but have been too distracted, too discouraged, or too exhausted to live out. Until now. So let's take this journey together, not to become someone new, but to return to someone ancient inside you. Someone who doesn't flinch under pressure, someone who doesn't beg for approval, someone who has standards etched into the core of their being. Because if you're going to survive this modern world with your soul intact, you can't afford to compromise what matters most. Let's begin. Your character is not something you find, it's something you build day by day, choice by choice. And the moment you begin compromising it, even just a little, is the moment you start handing over your power. You might think that bending your values just once won't hurt, but it never stops at once. Compromise has a way of sneaking in quietly, asking for just a corner of your soul, and before you know it, it's rearranged the whole house. You can't outsource your integrity, you can't borrow someone else's honor. You either live in alignment with who you say you are, or you live in a lie. And the worst lies aren't the ones we tell others. They're the ones we tell ourselves to make peace with things we should never accept. There will always be a reason to compromise your character. Maybe it's the pressure of fitting in. Maybe it's the fear of losing an opportunity. Maybe it's the exhaustion that comes from being the only one in the room who still stands for something. But here's what you've got to understand. Your character is the foundation. Without it, everything else is decoration on a house built on sand. Sooner or later, it all comes down. The Stoics knew this. They didn't obsess over what people thought of them. They obsessed over being consistent with their values. What matters more than your reputation is your conscience. Because at the end of the day, you've got to look in the mirror and answer one question. Did I act like the person I claimed to be? You're going to be tempted, not once, not twice, but over and over again. Tempted to exaggerate, to cut corners, to play dumb when it benefits you. But every time you do, you're making a silent trade, a little gain for a little self-respect. And if you keep doing it, eventually you'll forget what self-respect even feels like. Character is built in the unseen moments, when no one's watching, when it's just you, your thoughts, and the choice in front of you. Do you speak up or stay silent? Do you walk away or sell your soul for comfort? These are the forks in the road that define you. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as small as telling the truth when a lie would be easier, or doing the right thing when it won't be recognized. But those small acts are everything. They're bricks in the wall of who you are, and either you're building strength or you're building excuses. One of the most dangerous lies in modern life is this, that you can fake your way through and still end up whole. You can't. You might fool others. You might even fool yourself for a while, but your soul keeps the receipts, and eventually the debt comes due. When you live with character, you walk differently. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You carry something deeper, a quiet kind of fire. People sense it. Not in what you say, but in what you don't have to explain. Think about the people you respect most. It's not their achievements that draw you in. It's their consistency, their clarity, their refusal to fold when folding would have been easier. That's what you're chasing, not perfection, but a life that aligns with what you know is right. So how do you protect your character? You start by defining your values. What do you stand for? Not when things are easy, but when the pressure's on. Then you make those values your compass. Every decision passes through that lens. Not, what do I feel like doing, but what would a person of integrity do right now? And when you fail, and you will, you own it. You don't hide. You don't justify, you acknowledge it, correct it, and get back in alignment. That's the difference between guilt and growth. One holds you down, the other pulls you forward. If you want peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't vanish when circumstances change, then live in a way that your soul can respect. That's the kind of strength no one can take from you. That's the kind of man or woman who walks through fire and comes out cleaner than they went in. Now let's talk about your time. Because if your character is the foundation, your time is the currency. And the truth is you're bleeding it every single day. Not just in the big things, but in the thousand small distractions that seem harmless until they've swallowed years of your life. The Stoics understood time in a way we've almost forgotten. Seneca said it best. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And we do. We waste it on people who drain us. We waste it scrolling, numbing, avoiding. We act like we'll live forever, but we won't. Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back. Imagine you had a bank account that started each morning with $86,400. But at the end of the day, whatever you didn't use vanished. You'd be very careful about where you spent it, right? That's what time is, and yet most people give it away like it's worthless. Your time is not neutral. Where it goes, your life follows. That's why you have to be ruthless about protecting it. That means saying no more often. That means turning down good things to make space for great things. That means stepping away from anything that doesn't feed your purpose. There's a cost to every yes. A hidden cost. When you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else. So if you're constantly saying yes to convenience, comfort, or other people's demands, what are you saying no to? your goals, your peace, your growth. You're not here to live someone else's timeline. You're not here to spend your life putting out fires that other people start. You're here to build, to grow, to become who you're meant to be. And that means guarding your hours like treasure, because that's exactly what they are. Let's be clear. Being busy is not the same as being intentional. Busyness is a trap. It makes you feel important while robbing you of depth. Being intentional means you know why you're doing what you're doing. It means your calendar reflects your values, not your fears. And yes, people will push back. They'll get offended when you stop being so available. Let them. You're not being rude, you're being clear. There's nothing noble about burning yourself out for the sake of being liked. Your time is yours. Treat it that way. Start small, audit your day, look at where your minutes go. How much of it is actually moving you toward who you want to be? How much is just noise? Then cut. Trim the excess, create margin, because in that space you'll find focus. And in focus you'll find power. Discipline is love in action, love for your future self. Love for the life you've been given. You don't manage your time because you're uptight. You manage it because your purpose deserves it. Because your dreams aren't side hobbies, they're missions. The clock is ticking, and it doesn't stop. Not for regret, not for hesitation, not for confusion. So, every day you wait, every day you wander, you're writing a version of your story that doesn't have to be. You have the pen. Use it with intention. Time is your canvas. Make every stroke count. Because one day you won't be able to go back and add color to the places you left blank. And when that day comes, the only thing that will matter is whether you used what you were given to become what you were meant to be. Your mind is your sanctuary, or at least it should be. But for most people today, it's not a sanctuary, it's a battlefield. A place of constant noise, doubt, fear, anxiety, overthinking, and mental clutter. And the reason is simple. We don't guard it. We let anything and everything in. We treat it like public property, not sacred ground. The Stoics were relentless about protecting the mind, because they knew that how you think determines how you live. Everything starts with a thought. Your beliefs, your reactions, your emotions, your decisions, your peace, your suffering. All of it flows from the condition of your mind. So if you want to change your life, you've got to start with your thoughts. What you feed your mind shapes your world. You can't fill it with outrage, noise, gossip, distraction, and then expect clarity, wisdom, and peace to grow out of that. It's like planting weeds and expecting roses. It doesn't work. Garbage in, garbage out. And the truth is, most of us are mentally malnourished, not because we don't have access to knowledge, but because we don't protect our attention. The world is fighting for your focus. Every notification, every headline, every platform is trying to hijack your attention. And when you hand it over freely, you're not just wasting time, you're surrendering your mind. You're giving up your ability to think clearly, to reflect deeply, to know what you believe and why. Clarity is a rare thing these days. People confuse busyness with meaning, noise with wisdom, and reaction with strength. But the Stoics weren't like that. They trained their minds like warriors. They sat with their thoughts, they examined them, they questioned their assumptions. They refused to let fear or ego dictate their responses. They knew that the mind, left untrained, becomes a tyrant, and they refused to be ruled. If you want a calm life, you need a calm mind, and a calm mind doesn't just happen, it's built through discipline, through practice, through the daily decision to choose what you allow in and what you shut out. You've got to become a gatekeeper of your mental world. It starts with silence, real silence. The kind where you turn off the noise, sit with your own thoughts and listen. Not to the world, not to your phone, but to yourself. Most people are terrified of silence because silence reveals the truth. It shows you what's really going on in your heart. But that's where the growth is, that's where the healing begins. Then comes discernment. Not every thought is true, not every emotion is wise. Just because something enters your mind doesn't mean it belongs there. The Stoics practiced what they called the discipline of assent, the ability to pause and ask, is this thought useful? Is it true? Does it lead to virtue? If not, they let it go. That's strength. You can do the same. You don't have to believe every doubt. You don't have to follow every fear. You don't have to feed every insecurity. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the one who decides what stays and what goes. That's your power. Protect your mornings. They set the tone for your day. Don't start with noise. Start with intention. Read something that sharpens you. Reflect on something eternal. Ask yourself what kind of person you want to be today. Then protect that decision like your life depends on it, because it does. And protect your inputs. What you watch, what you read, who you follow, who you talk to, it all matters. If you fill your mind with gossip, drama, and outrage, don't be surprised when your life feels chaotic and shallow. But if you fill it with wisdom, beauty, challenge, and truth, you'll rise. Not all at once, but steadily, quietly, unshakably. Your mind is not a dumping ground, it's a temple. It deserves respect. It deserves discipline, and if you take care of it, it will take care of you. In the storms, in the dark nights, in the pressure, it will become your anchor, your weapon, your sanctuary. Now we move to something even deeper. Your purpose, the reason you get out of bed, the thread that connects your pain, your passion, your gifts, and your growth. Your purpose is not a title, it's not a job, it's not what you do. It's who you're becoming. You were not put here to drift. You were not put here to chase approval, money, comfort, or the latest version of success sold to you by someone who doesn't know your soul. You were put here to live in alignment with something greater, to serve, to build, to lead, to love, to grow, to transform, and to do it all with virtue. The Stoics believed in logos, the rational order of the universe. They believed each person had a role to play, a duty, a calling. And the greatest tragedy was not pain or failure, but distraction. Being so caught up in the noise that you forget the reason you were created in the first place. You don't find your purpose scrolling. You don't find it copying someone else's path. You find it in the fire, in the discomfort, in the quiet tension between what you're good at and what the world needs. Purpose is revealed through discipline, not indulgence. Through service, not selfishness. Through sacrifice, not shortcuts. And once you find it, even just a glimpse, you guard it like a flame in the wind. Because the world will try to blow it out. You'll be told it's not practical, that it doesn't pay enough, that it's too big or too late or too bold. Ignore that noise. Your soul knows what it was born for. Stop asking for permission. Living with purpose means cutting away what doesn't align. It means saying no to things that look good but don't fit your mission. It means disappointing people who expect you to live small. And yes, it means discomfort, but it's the kind of discomfort that leads to strength. The kind that makes you proud when you look back. When you compromise your purpose, you feel it. Deeply. You feel it in the quiet frustration that never leaves, in the sense that something's missing, in the way joy fades, even when everything on paper looks fine. That's your soul telling you you're off course. Real purpose is not always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like showing up when no one claps. Sometimes it looks like doing the hard thing without any guarantee, but the reward is priceless. Peace, clarity, direction, a deep sense that your life matters. Don't compare your purpose to someone else's. Your path is yours, and it may look different. It may feel slower, it may be misunderstood. That's okay. What matters is that it's real, that it's rooted in virtue, that it makes you a better human, and that it demands your full attention. When you live in alignment with purpose, the storms don't stop, but your roots grow deeper. You stop asking, "Is this worth it?" and start declaring, "This is who I am." And that shift changes everything. It gives your pain meaning. It turns obstacles into training. It transforms weakness into wisdom. If you've lost touch with your purpose, it's not too late. It never is. Start by asking better questions. What do I stand for? Who do I want to become? What do I want to leave behind? Then act, not someday, now. In small ways, in quiet courage, one decision at a time. Because purpose isn't just found, it's forged in the fire of discipline, in the silence of reflection, in the courage to say no to everything that isn't aligned. That's how you reclaim your life. That's how you stop drifting and start building something eternal, something that echoes beyond you. Purpose is not luxury, it's necessity. Without it, you'll achieve success and still feel empty. With it, even failure becomes sacred. And once you taste that kind of meaning, you'll never again be satisfied with a life of mere survival. You were born for more. Live like it. Let's talk about peace. Not the fragile kind that depends on circumstances, not the artificial calm that comes from avoidance or numbing. I'm talking about inner peace, the real thing. The kind of peace that sits with you even in chaos. The kind that can't be stolen by headlines, heartbreak, or failure. That peace isn't found out there. It's built in here, and it's one of the most sacred things you can ever own. You can lose a lot in life. Money, relationships, status. But if you lose your peace, you lose everything. Because when your soul is at war, nothing feels right. Even when things are going right. You could be surrounded by success and still feel empty. You could be admired and still feel like a fraud. You could be loved and still feel unworthy. Why? Because peace doesn't come from what you have. It comes from who you are when no one's watching. The Stoics were obsessed with this. They knew the external world would always be unpredictable. That's why they focused on the one thing they could control, their inner world. They didn't pray for easier circumstances. They prayed for stronger minds. They trained themselves not to be at the mercy of what happens, but to remain anchored in virtue no matter what. That kind of peace takes work. It doesn't come from escapism. It comes from self-mastery, from knowing what you stand for, from letting go of what you can't control and taking full responsibility for what you can. Peace comes from alignment, from not having to live a double life, from not carrying secrets, from not saying yes when your soul is screaming no. We lose peace when we betray ourselves, when we smile through resentment, when we agree just to be liked, when we pretend to be okay with things that are tearing us apart. And we tell ourselves we're keeping the peace, but what we're really doing is avoiding the truth. And avoidance never brings peace, it only delays pain. The Stoics believed in facing reality head-on, not to become cold, but to become clear. Because once you see things as they are, not worse, not better, you can move with wisdom. You can act with courage. You can stop being a slave to emotion and become a master of yourself. You don't have to react to everything. That's one of the most powerful things you can learn. You can pause, you can observe. You can choose your response. That space between stimulus and response is where peace is born. You don't have to join every argument. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to carry every burden you're handed. You get to decide. But to live with that kind of strength, you need boundaries, mental, emotional, spiritual. You need to be okay with disappointing others to stay true to yourself. You need to create sacred spaces in your day where you can just be, think, reflect, breathe. Because without solitude, there is no clarity. And without clarity, there is no peace. Stop feeding the drama. Stop living on edge. You're not meant to be in a constant state of reaction. You're not meant to be available to everyone all the time. That's not kindness, that's self-neglect. Be kind, yes, but not at the expense of your soul. Your peace is not a luxury, it's your power. Guard it. Guard it with your time, guard it with your habits, guard it with your decisions. If something costs you your peace, it's too expensive, no matter how shiny it looks. Start protecting it today. Not when life slows down, not when things get easier, right now. You don't need to escape your life to find peace. You just need to stop betraying yourself in the middle of it. The truth is, peace begins the moment you stop arguing with what is and start showing up with who you really are. So let's bring it home. You've made it this far, and if you've really been listening, not just hearing, but letting the words press into your soul, then you know this isn't just another motivational talk. This is a moment. A crossroad, a call to remember who you are and what you will no longer negotiate. You've got 5 non-negotiables now. Your character, because it's the foundation of everything. Your time, because it's your life in motion. Your mind, because it's the birthplace of every choice. Your purpose, because it's the reason you breathe. And your peace, because it's your power. These 5 are sacred, not because I say so, but because deep down you already know they are. That's why you're still here. But knowledge means nothing without action. The Stoics didn't just write about virtue, they lived it. They trained it. They practiced it every single day. And that's your next step, to move from inspiration to transformation, to stop waiting for the right time, to stop apologizing for your standards, to stop settling, and to start living as if your soul depends on it, because it does. So here's what I want you to do. Look at your life right now, honestly. Where have you compromised? Where have you said yes to things that violate who you are? Where have you given away your time, your energy, your clarity for things that don't deserve them? Name them. Own them, and then let them go, and in their place, plant something better. A new standard, a deeper resolve, a quiet fire that says, I will not live divided. I will not live distracted. I will not trade what is eternal for what is easy. I may fall. I may falter, but I will not fold, because this world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more followers. It needs more people who are unshakable, people who carry light, people who speak truth. People who live with such integrity that their very presence reminds others of who they could be. Be one of those people. And don't do it for applause. Don't do it to be seen. Do it because it's right. Because it's who you are. Because at the end of your life, the only thing that will matter is whether you had the courage to become the person you were always meant to be. So walk forward with clarity, with intention, with honor. Guard what is sacred. Live without compromise and become unshakable, not someday, but starting right now.